अश्रद्धान पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य माम निवर्तन्ते मृत्यु संसार वर्त्मनि. Robert, you can read the translation.
Those
Yes, Robert. Those who?
those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, a conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world.
So we'll go ahead. We actually did this. Actually did this. So, but anyway, I have just some final things about I can share with on this. Let's see what he says. Yeah, so he says the faithless cannot attain Krishna. Despite Krishna's repeated words, they cannot accept the supreme position of bhakti. Thus, they take birth again and again in the material world. Krishna has completed his qualification of the knowledge he will speak. In the next group of verses, he begins describing his own Achinta Bheda Veda relationship with the material world. So, yeah, so we were discussing that how faith is the most important thing. And Prabhupada explains in the purport that two things. First part of the purport in the second paragraph. The second paragraph. First thing he talks about the development of faith. Is what about is all about Krishna conscious. Progress is about that, and he says that mainly the people when they are remaining in the third class, then they may slip away, they may go away, and the main reason he says that they have hidden motives like that. So actually, one thing I wanted to share. It's also very important for us to catch the right conception and consciousness right from the beginning. Then our progress becomes wonderful. That's why in the beginning, training in the beginning itself is very, very vital. So we have seen that those devotees who get the right kind of seed, the beach, the Bhaktilata beach, from the very beginning, that means they keep that pure devotional intent from the day one. So these devotees actually make very good, very wonderful progress also like that. So why I'm saying this point, sometimes somebody may come to ISKCON because of some other reasons like hidden motive. So and then sometimes they may not engage in reading and hearing and associating with sincere Vaishnavas. When they don't do that, when they don't get the right kind of association, then they may keep lingering in the ISKCON, and they may go ahead for some time. But then they may sometimes slip away, or sometimes they get involved in unnecessary kind of like politics or gossip and things like that. So it's all lack of training, you can see. So it's our interest that from the as at the earliest we catch the right kind of conception and consciousness, while we are trying to progress. It's very vital. Like I'll tell you, I know one devotee. He was staying remote, and he wanted to join also as a brahmachari. So he told me. So he'd be like doing different things. He'd go to sometimes Vrindavan, go to here, there, roam around. So many things he was doing. So one point of time I was just trying to interact with him because I was trying to facilitate his devotion service, trying to guide somewhere. So then because he approached Pune temple that I want to join and all that. So then when I was asking him, then I got to know one thing that he was he was kind of. I was asking why you joined to join as brahmachari. So he was saying that uh, when Radhesham Prabhu or Gauranga Prabhu or some kind of brahmachari, when they walk, so many people are left, right, and they are also walking with them, something like that. So he was very much he was some kind of he was kind of somewhat attracted to this kind of royalty, of brahmacharis, some kind of royalness. I'm walking, and then people are there to offer me respects and the people who are following me, Prabhuji, 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 something like that. So he was having some kind of attraction for that aspect. Then I was thinking, hey, this is not the right, way of the right way to look at. Then I was saying, see, I was telling him that when I got to know about ISKCON, what I was attracted to the character and the pure behavior and the right philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And when I met Radheshyam Prabhu and other Vaishnavas, so I was very much happy to hear my questions getting answered. My questions were addressed very nicely, and philosophically it was making sense. And I was very much was getting admiration and appreciation for their sincerity, for their character, for their purity in their devotional service. So these are the right thing we have to capture. And because we got them from the beginning and we heard the pure philosophy. So the right kind of conception and consciousness we got. Now we may not be immediately having the purified consciousness and everything, but at least we get the right bija, and the bija can fructify, the seed can eventually grow. So that's why it is very important to get the right kind of beach also. And we will get the right seed of devotional service when we associate with sincere followers of Srila Prabhupada. We associate with Srila Prabhupada books very nicely. It's very important. Otherwise, this hidden motive can, like the right kind of seed we don't get becomes some kind of hidden motive, some hidden agendas. So this is called karma beach, jnana beach, yoga beach. Basically, karma beach means what? Somebody comes to Krishna consciousness for some kind of material motivation. Okay, ISKCON is a good place. Now I can get my business done. It's very nice, devotees, I can do my business. There are people like that who come to ISKCON for that purpose. Okay, ISKCON is a good place. Now I can get some internet. And it's easy for me to get visa. People may want to get married. Good people are there, easily, he can get married, like that is thinking. So, padhe likhe hain, I'll get some job. Like that, people have different kinds of, sometimes motives, like that. And these people sometimes they may not seriously engage in hearing and chanting and associating with devotees and get the right kind of seed sometimes. So for our personal growth and even for somebody who comes to Krishna consciousness, we have to be very, very, we have to be very, very keen to see, am I getting the right seed, for myself? Do I have the right kind of seed in my devotional service? And if not, then we have to be very, we have to see what's my motive, what I'm doing Krishna consciousness for, what I'm looking for in Krishna consciousness. So by associating with pure Vaishnavas, associating with Srila Prabhupada books, hearing Prabhupada lectures, hearing our spiritual master lectures, sincere Vaishnava lectures, and associating with them, we can get the right kind of seed. So more we do that, more we will have that right seed of devotional service, and more we also see those whom we are trying to guide. We have to also encourage them, for pure devotional service only. So we have to get them to the right understanding, and we have to engage them in reading Prabhupada books sincerely, understanding that, and engage them in hearing the lectures of sincere Vaishnavas. And our own lectures also we have to emphasize on pure devotional service, so that people can actually catch the right thing, like that. So we cannot just keep ourselves and others, bereft of the right seed, because that means what? Then whatever we are doing, hearing, chanting, or whatever they may be engaging, so they will actually water their own aspirations only. They will continue to water their own other motives. It's called weeds. So it's really dangerous, like that. In fact, even for sadhaka bhakta who is sincerely practicing, also has to be careful, that the hidden seeds of karma, jnana, yoga, may tend to germinate and grow sometimes, and sometimes we will not understand, because Chaitanya Charitamrita says it looks similar, it looks like, oh, I'm growing in my bhakti, but actually that what might be growing is our other aspirations and motivation. That's why we are doing bhakti. That's why we are engaging in ISKCON so much, and we are continuing to keep some kind of hidden motive, and that's very risky, because that will create disturbance in our devotional service and others also, in others devotional service also. And there is always a scope for somebody going away from devotional service also. That's why one has to be very, very careful. So that's why expert guidance of a guru required, and a very sincere engagement in hearing the words of the spiritual master is required, and sincere engagement in associating with sincere Vaishnavas, with very open heart, and willing to always look for pure devotion service. That kind of keenness should be there. You have to always keep checking, to ourselves why I'm chanting, why I'm reading, why I'm engaging in Krishna consciousness, why I'm trying to preach. Because we can always turn towards some kind of material motivations. Even though sometimes in the beginning we may be getting the right understanding, but eventually we may start watering the weeds only. This kind of hidden aspirations, which a heart has many, many material desires for many, many lives like that. So we have to be very, very careful. So more we are, actually very much keen to always keep pure devotional seed only as our main priority, and be very happy to remove the weeds as we come to know by the understood guidance of one of our spiritual master, and always aspire for pure devotional service. To that degree, our progress become swifter and swifter, and our faith, our real faith, will keep developing more and more and more. So I'll pause here. Let's see if any reflection anybody has. Any reflection? Yes. Hare Krishna. Srinivasan. Yeah. Yes, Virat Prabhu. Arya Prabhu. Okay. One by one. Virat Prabhu.
Yeah, like one reflection is that I don't know. I feel that in like prior like practice of Hinduism, I felt that there was a lot of external motivation and not really like true bhakti motivation. And I see that in ISKCON, it's they preach like that you have to have a lot of service-minded attitude, and like your motivation shouldn't be something for yourself, and so I really appreciate that. So I think that's really good.
Okay, Virat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. My reflection is when we are carrying out devotional services, we shouldn't do it in a mundane way, in just like a tick box way, or like just to say that we completed this task. I think we should, based on what you say, we should be reflecting on why we are doing what we are doing, and why we are trying to develop the seed of bhakti within us. And one example is as we go into more and more rounds of our chanting, it can sometimes it can feel mundane, or the mind can get distracted, but you can just check yourself and ask yourself why you're doing it, and understand what the importance is, and then restart the process again. So I think this like daily self-reflection and daily self understanding of why you are doing these devotional services will just help you maintain and help you develop your seed of bhakti.
You have to get the right seed from the bona fide spiritual master.
Right
the
seed.
right kind of mood, method, consciousness, all this very, very important. Yes, anybody else?
Hare Krishna. Good morning. Dandavat Pranam, everyone. The one thing that haunts me as I go through evolution is that I'm anxious for pratishta. It just follows me everywhere. I can't seem to shake it. So thank you for this very sober reminder. Very sober reminder. We need to keep an eye on that and not nourish it. It's very very subtle. Very subtle.
What do you say, Mataji? Thank you for which reminders? Subtle reminder.
Subtle. It's
Subtle
very.
reminder.
It's in.
No, you said thank
You
you
don't
for.
even notice that it's happening, but it's real.
Correct.
It's right
No,
there.
what?
It's right.
No, you said thank you for what? Subtle reminder. What reminder you said?
The weed. You're saying the weed that grows along with the
correct.
evolution. That I think the biggest weed and the most subtle weed is the desire for name and fame.
Pratishtha. See, here it writes Bhaktigata Bija means the seed of devotional service. Everything has an original cause of seed. Any idea, program, plan, or service, device. This first of all the contemplation of the plan, and that is called the bija or seed. The methods, rules, and regulation by which one is perfectly trained in devotion service continue the Bhakti Lata Bij or seed of devotion service. Bhakti Lata Bij is received from the spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. Other seeds, Anya Vilashita Bij, including Karma Bija, Jnana Bija. If one is not fortunate enough to receive the Bhakti Lata Bija from the spiritual master, he instead cultivates such seeds as Karma Bija, Jnana Bija, political, social, philanthropic Bijas. Like some people, after coming to ISKCON, they get into politics. They get into some kind of social welfare activities, and forgetting their main course, pure devotional program. So that's why, because they're watering those things, they're not carefully removing it out. However, the Bhakti Lata Bija is different from the other Bija. The Bhakti Lata Bija has to satisfy the spiritual master to get the Bhakti Lata Bija. Yes, Sir Prasadat, Bhagavad Prasad. Bhakti Lata Bija is the origin of devotional service. Unless one satisfies the spiritual master, he gets the Bija or root, he gets the Bij or root cause of Karma, Jnana, and Yoga without the benefit of devotional service. So he has the Bija of all that from previous lives anyway. So, but one who is faithful to his spiritual master gets the Bhakti Lata Bija. The Bhakti Lata Bija is received when one is initiated by one of his spiritual master. After receiving the spiritual master's mercy, one must repeat his instructions. And this is called Shravan Kirtan, hearing and chanting. One who has not properly heard, see, this is very important. One who has not properly heard from the spiritual master, or one who does not follow the regular principle, is not fit for chanting. Explaining Bhagavad Gita. One who has not listened carefully to the instruction of the spiritual master is unfit for chanting or for preaching the cult of devotional service. One has to water the Bhakti Lata Bija by receiving instruction from the spiritual master. It's very important. So one has to get the right Bija from the spiritual master. That means aspiration for pure devotional service only. Important. Yeah. Anyway, so this is what today I wanted to share. Neeraj, you want to share anything? Srinivasan Prabhu?
Yeah, good morning, Prabhuji. So I think from my perspective, all of these are important, but I think the way you also mentioned here, the combination has to be with other devotees. I think without that, you lose a certain level of momentum because you see other people with you on the same journey. That helps.
No, I couldn't get your point exactly.
So I said basically doing the effort on yourself is important, but if you try and do this alone and try and do this without other Vaishnavas around you.
Correct. Yes, so we should be guided by some sincere Vaishnavas.
I mean, you have the words of a spiritual master. You know what you're doing. You're chanting.
Yeah.
All of those are necessary, but they're not sufficient. I guess what I'm saying is that you need the Sangati. You need other Vaishnavas with you on this journey.
Yes.
So that's why having classes like these together with other people is important.
Yes. And also, we get the right consciousness while being in the assembly of a sincere Vaishnava, associating with them. We get the right consciousness, which is the fundamental thing for having the right seed. That's what you're talking about. And Guru, we get the right kind of seed only when we aspire like that. We want to, and when we read and hear, when we hear very sincerely, sitting at a lotus, we hear very sincerely, wanting to know what my spiritual master wants me to actually, aspire for. So by sincerely hearing, then we get the right kind of beach. And as we satisfy the spiritual master, more and more that, beach will become very, very prominent in our heart. Yes, Srinivasan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Actually, when I joined, I heard you were saying people join ISKCON for initially for Krishna conscious service, but get distracted with their own personal agenda, like other their ambitions or aspirations. But to me, that aligns with what I hear from Srila Prabhupada's lectures. Says like all our bodily needs are already taken care of. Actually, all we have to just use focus is like use this body for the developing that Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. See, what happens is, in the beginning, we have some, simplicity, innocence. We have understanding of right seed for sure, but we don't hold it very powerfully. As we go ahead, we are hearing chanting, the other weeds, which are there, other kinds of material desires, ulterior motives, they also start growing sometimes. And then we may start taking their shelter, and we may start watering them more sometimes. If you're not properly guided by spiritual master, if you're not properly reading and hearing, like in ISKCON we may get respect, we may, as Mataji is saying, we may get some kind of pratishtha and all that. So we may start deriving strength from there only, and we may execute our devotion service, watering those kind of things. So we have to be very careful. So always aspiring for pure devotion service, that kind of thing has to be there, if you want to go back to Godhead. Because so first thing is, in the beginning itself, one may not get the seed, right kind of consciousness, right kind of conception, because of not having proper association. One may just come in ISKCON, and that's anyway dangerous, and one may slip away, or one will create disturbance, and there will be a lot of problems. Second thing is, somebody may come with right kind of association, but then over the period, because of not continuing good association, one may actually get sidetracked with other kinds of hidden motives, ulterior desires, which may be there in the heart and as seeds lying there. So we may start watering them more sometimes. We are not careful. That's why at every stage of life, we need to be, guided by spiritual master, so that we always keep, watering the right seed and always avoid the weeds. So when the whole heart is filled, clear with all the weeds, then there is no scope of germinating that weed. Again, fructifying the weeds. And then you have only Bhaktilata beach, which is growing very powerfully, and then eventually it will bear the fruit of love of God. So till the time, we have our heart is not clean, we have to always be guided by spiritual master, and always keep reading, hearing, and always keep that pure devotional intent. That's very challenging, but that's why we need to associate. We need the association of our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and sincere Vaishnavas. Is this point clear, Srinivasan Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Always aspire for pure devotion. It's risk, it's challenging.
Yes.
As we grow, sometimes we get, sometimes distracted with something, other things like that. We have to be careful. Okay. Puramata, you want to share any point?
I just want to say same thing, that we require right kind of association or with the devotees, and do whatever our spiritual guru tell us to do it, doing services, devotional services. And if some people come in the Krishna consciousness, taking their wrong motives or hidden motives, so they fell down in the Krishna consciousness, they left it when they get their motives. So they tangle in the birth and death cycle. So we should always remember that we have to be good association with the devotees.
Very good point. We have to always remain in good association, because within devotee
just-
also we should aspire for good association. Yes, bro. Yes, ma'am.
I just ask you whether how we know that we are progressing in the devotional services, or
Your
we are
enthusiasm, your enthusiasm for chanting should increase. Your enthusiasm for, because many times we are very enthusiastic for other things, maybe services, and maybe, collecting funds or whatever may come up, But are we equally enthusiastic to chant our rounds? Very essential. And are we our absorption in chanting is increasing or not? That also we can check. Is my absorption in chanting is increasing? Is my aspiration to serve the Vaishnavas is increasing? Is my aspiration to hear my spiritual master, and eagerness to hear my spiritual master more and more is increasing or not? Is my eagerness for associating with devotees, is increasing or not? With the intention to please them, serve them. So more you are situated, properly, more all these things will increase actually. So like that we can check. If not, then maybe, suppose I'm so much eager for preaching and, giving so many classes and all that, but for chanting, I'm not having much interest. That means maybe I may be doing this for some kind of, name, fame only. There is possibility like that. So we all have to keep checking our heart. And also, we have to be guided by Guru, so that we are accountable. We should keep reporting, taking guidance, hearing. So we will also get to know, am I doing good, or something has to be improved, something has to be added, subtracted, like that. So keeping in touch with some guide, regularly also is helpful. So,
Okay.
so our eagerness for hearing, reading, chanting should also increase. And our absorption increases. Krishna is increasing or not, that we have to see. Otherwise, are we absorbed in only some, other things? In terms of how many people, I'm influencing, or how much funds I'm getting for the ISKCON, and wanting to impress others in that way. Or because of ISKCON, I'm getting good business. It's good, and my absorption is there only. So many things can be there like that. People can be distracted. But the point is that we won't realize this. If we are not having good association, as you rightly said. In good association, when we hear the aspiration of the sincere Vaishnava, then we will think that what I am looking for. Then we can have a good scope to check our own motives. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yes. Okay. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.